Once you've installed the Cohort Manager plugin, you'll find a new option in the left-hand menu here titled Cohort Manager. And the first page of this is where you would create your first workflow, which is what we're going to do in this video. But before that, I just wanted to point out that you have the option of visiting the knowledge base here, and this is linked to from various places in the plugin. But the knowledge base is a separate website where you will find lots of information, including a getting started guide and frequently asked questions. So if you do get stuck at any point, please visit this. And if you still can't do what you're trying to do here, please contact support using the menu item in the top right. So Cohort Manager leans heavily on LearnDash's own group functionality. So if you head to LearnDash LMS here and then head down to groups, you'll see where these are set up. And if you're not familiar with groups, groups are a great way of managing your learners as a collective rather than as individuals. So you'll see here I have 5 groups set up. And if you look at the column where my cursor is here, you'll see that one of these groups has 6 users in it, and it has access to 3 courses, and it can also have this concept of group leaders. So rather than having to give each of these 6 users individual access to all these courses, what I've done is put these 6 users into a group, and then it's the group that you give access to the courses to. And it's a much quicker way of managing access to courses. And as I mentioned previously, LearnDash groups have this concept of a group leader, and depending on your setup and plugins and things that you've got set up, there are different things that group leaders can do, ranging from managing course settings right through to seeing reports of members on the group. So there's lots and lots of possibility with these LearnDash groups, and it's a great feature within LearnDash. And what Cohort Manager does is it uses these groups, and Cohort Manager manages the group's access to these courses. So we'll take a look at that now by heading to Cohort Manager and then choosing this Cohort Workflows section at the top. What we're going to do is click Create Your First Workflow. The first thing it asks us to do is give the workflow a name. And this name is purely for your own internal use. None of the learners would actually see this, but it's just for your own reference. And you could perhaps say something like January cohort here. And here's where we select which group that this workflow applies to. So if you remember on the previous screen, we had 5 groups set up, each with different months. I'm going to choose January cohort, which was one of those groups. And beneath that, I choose which course I want to manage their access to. And I'm going to choose healthy eating for a healthy life. If you are managing a group's access to multiple courses, what you would do is create a different workflow for each course. So you'd have January cohorts access to each of these 2 as well. So you can create as many of these workflows for the groups as you like. The last item on the new workflow dialog here is the format of the workflow. And there are 2 types to choose from. Specific dates allows you to give specific dates to the things that happen within the workflow, such as 31st of January, 3rd of February, so very specific points in time, whereas X days from course start allows you to set a time when the workflow starts and everything else pins a specific number of dates from that. So you would say the workflow starts on the 1st of March, and the first thing happens 7 days after, then 14 days after, and so on. So when you might want to use these, the specific dates one are very good for if you want to have a lot of control over exact dates and times when things happen. Whereas if you have a cohort-based course that you deliver in a very regimented way every single time, X number of days after a certain date, then that's probably the best option to choose from. And choosing that option has certain benefits when we come to cloning courses, which we'll look at shortly. So I'm going to choose specific dates for this demonstration first, but what I will do after this is show you an X days from course start option as well. And I'm going to just click Create Workflow. So the first thing we notice is that the workflow has now been created, but it has none of these interactions. And what interactions are the things that happen within the workflow, such as unlocking lessons or sending emails and so on. We can see here the title that we gave our workflow, but if we wanted to change that for any reason, we can change that here and then just click update. So we can change the name, our own reference to this cohort. And beneath that, we can see that we're managing January cohorts groups access to the Healthy Eating for a Healthy Life course. The workflow status is initially set to disabled, meaning that we can add as many interactions as we like here, but none of them will actually take any effect until we actually enable this workflow. And we do simply by clicking this on and off. So if we ever wanted to activate or deactivate a workflow, it's just as simple as this, just clicking this option here. We'll come on to cohort shortcodes in another video, and we will also look through each of these interactions in a separate video. But this is the concept where you have a workflow and what you want to do is add interactions to it. So as a demonstration here, and we'll come on to this in another video, I'm just going to unlock a lesson. I select which specific date or time this and date and time this happens. And if you remember rightly, this is the specific dates cohort workflow type. So we're able to choose a date and a time when this happens. So I'll say 31st of March at 3 o'clock. I want to unlock the ketogenic diet for weight loss lesson. And I'm just going to click update here. And what we've done is added our first interaction to our first workflow. We would add subsequent interactions here, and we can add as many of these as we like. And in subsequent videos, we will look at how we add different types of interaction and what they do. If I head back to the cohort workflows page here, we can see that we have this workflow set up now, and anyone on the January cohort would be applicable to have these things happen as they go through their course. What I'm going to do as a quick demonstration here is set up the February cohort, and I'm going to choose the group as February cohort and the course as the same one, Healthy Eating for a Healthy Life. But in this instance, rather than specific dates, I'm going to choose X days from course start. And what this means, as I mentioned previously, is that we set a specific course start date. And I'm going to say that was perhaps the 12th of May at 12 o'clock. I'm going to create that workflow. And the difference you'll find here is that when you add your interactions, such as unlock lesson, they happen a specific number of days after the course starts. So rather than actually selecting a specific date and a specific time here, all I do is say this happens 7 days after the course start, we unlock that one. And likewise, I could say 14 days after, we'll unlock this lesson. And all of the dates in here are relative to this first initial date that we set here, this course workflow start date. So those are two different types of workflow. We have options here, as well as being able to activate and deactivate from this page to edit them. So any workflow we've created, we can edit and add and remove interactions here. We can also delete them. So if you wanted to get rid of one of these, we can simply delete it like that, and that workflow will no longer exist. We can also clone workflows. So if you have a workflow that you have applied to one group and then want to run the same course for another group at a different time, all you need to do is click clone, give the workflow a name again. So we'll say this one applies to the May cohort, and simply select the group. And what you will find is that it creates the same workflow for that other group, and it will bring in all of the same interactions with it. So it's a big time saver. Rather than having to build every single cohort from scratch, it's often quicker to just clone a cohort and amend as needed. The final thing I'll show you here is that we've got filters here, so we can filter by specific groups. So if we only wanted to show the January cohorts workflows, we can filter that. And likewise, we can filter people's access to courses. So what we've done is created some basic workflows there. And in the next series of videos, we'll look at some other aspects of the plugin, such as giving these workflows interactions, managing email templates, and some of the cohort-based shortcodes.